OG Bitcoiners own less Bitcoin than you would think. Let's talk about why, because it's interesting. So original OG Bitcoiners had two problems to deal with that you do not have to deal with. So in some ways, be thankful that you're not an OG Bitcoiner. It was a lot more prone to error and prone to hacker in the very early days of Bitcoin. So two things that resulted in a lot of OG Bitcoiners having a lot less Bitcoin than you would think was exchange hacks and people losing their Bitcoin or throwing it away because it was just worth so little that it didn't matter. So this was a constant happening between 2009 and probably 2013 and was probably still happening up through 2016. Very early on, people would go buy Bitcoin on Bitcoinica or Mt. Gox or any of these services, and there was not a good way to self-custody your Bitcoin. There was nothing like BitKey, which is by far the best way, and there were not reputable exchanges like Coinbase and River and others that were not just going to get hacked. They would keep all their Bitcoin on Mt. Gox or Bitcoinica or any of these services, and then the exchange itself would have a major hack and lose a huge amount of Bitcoin. And they might own tens of thousands of Bitcoin and poof, it would just be gone. You don't have to worry about that now, but that used to be a big problem in the early days of Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself was always secure, but holding those private keys of ownership was just, the early technologies to do that were not developed. They were just very early. So if you were an OG early Bitcoiner, there is a good chance that a significant amount of your Bitcoin got stolen in the Mt. Gox hack or any of the numerous other exchange hacks that happened early in Bitcoin's life. And if you didn't get hacked, there was a very good chance that you threw away the keys. Now, why is that? Well, because people are throwing away digital stuff all the time. They just delete stuff to free up hard drive space. They delete stuff that they're sure is backed up to the cloud, and then later they find out it's not backed up to the cloud. And in the early days of Bitcoin, people had 100 Bitcoin. And even when it was worth, $100, they would delete a file. They would realize, ooh, dang it, that had 100 Bitcoin. But they'd look at the price and they'd be like, well, it was only $100. It's not worth all the trouble jumping through a bunch of hoops to recover 100 Bitcoin because it's only worth $100. So this happens all the time, most famously by a guy in the UK. He threw away a hard drive that had a total of 7,800 Bitcoin on it, $800, $900 million of Bitcoin. But at the time it got thrown away, it was worth about, I think, $7,000 or $8,000. The garbage truck had left. It was no longer in his neighborhood. There was no way to track it down. He's trying to buy the entire landfill. The guy is trying to buy the entire landfill so he can go through every piece of trash in the entire landfill looking for one hard drive that has the private keys to about 8,000 Bitcoin. It's crazy, but stuff like that just doesn't happen anymore.